I was scared to death. A little dizzy, shortness of breath, a little disoriented. I apparently was having symptoms, but I chalked them up to, just a phase, just getting on with it. And I went about having a routine physical, and that's how it was discovered. I got a call on a Sunday at 5 o'clock from my primary care doctor saying, well, your lab work came back very erratic, you're at risk. All three of your major blood counts are out of whack. That was your white count, my red count, and my platelet count. So he referred me to a hematologist. So my husband and I went to a hematologist, and I was greeted at the door with the sign, Dr. Bannon, Hematology Oncology. And it slammed me in the face, oncology. Oh my God. I had the bone marrow biopsy on a Thursday. I got the results actually a week later, and it came up with MDS. We met with Dr. Bannon, we got the results, and we were immediately coordinated with a wonderful Dr. Maria Bayer at the University of Maryland Medical Center in Baltimore, the guru of many blood cancers, but MDS was a specialty. And she took the treatment over and started directing Dr. Bannon, who is more local, what the treatment plan was.
The only two ways we have of treating them right now, which are FDA approved, is either we give them a transplant, a bone marrow or stem cell transplant, or we use one of two drugs which are called hypomethylating agents.
I became allergic to Vidasa, the sub-Q shots. I broke out in hives, welts, etc. I didn't have an anaphylactic reaction, but clearly I was allergic to it.
If a patient fails the hypomethylating agent, then how do we bring their blast count down to make them even a candidate for a potentially curative transplant? That is where we need experimental trials to make patients eligible for a transplant.
They did another bone marrow to see if this worked. In the meantime, I want you to know that at the very beginning of this, I had met with a Dr. Rappaport and a Kathy Rule at the University of Maryland, the transplant, bone marrow transplant team, the nurse coordinator and the head of it, and was put on the transplant list pending treatment, okay? So I was on the list for a search for donors. I went back to Dr. Bayer and had another bone marrow. And it came out worse, much worse. So at that point, it was kind of like bend over, kiss my butt, and say goodbye. I was taken off the bone marrow list. That was kind of the finality to me to say, well, you don't have another option. At that point, Dr. Bayer said there is a study that is still open. It has a week before it's closing. It's provided by Annika Nova, and it's regarding a medicine called rigosertib, and you are eligible for it.
Rigosertib is a drug with which I have a lot of experience, both in lower risk patients and high risk MDS patients. And this is a targeted therapy.
I did think I was going to die. I had failed the 2 courses of therapy that were available until the drug trial, investigational drug was offered to me.
This way, if you give a drug like rigosertib, it will spare normal cells because yes, this pathway will be stopped in both the MDS cells and the normal cells, but the normal cells have alternate pathways available to follow for proliferation. MDS cells can only use this one pathway because they're addicted to it. So that's why it is more effective in suppressing the proliferation and division of the malignant cells as opposed to normal cells. So its toxicity is not that bad at all for that reason. And that's why a drug like rigosertib is very exciting. That its effect on suppression of normal cells is far less than that of chemotherapy, which indiscriminately kills cells.
And this was available, so I jumped on it, and Dr. Baer jumped on it. You know, she said, let's try it. Let's just try it. She was very encouraging. The trial protocol was to do another bone marrow biopsy at the 4-week mark. And my numbers came back to 6, which put me back on the transplant list. And we agreed to continue the rigosertib, the trial drug, which I was tolerating well, until the transplant. The fact that I had responded in blood counts to be eligible to be back on the transplant list, why not continue what I tried? So yes, there was optimism, there was hopefulness, there was relief. It was an opportunity for health. It was a hopeful miracles. I'm just very grateful that the rigosertib came through, or that opportunity came through, because I was a week short of getting into that study before the study closed. I am so incredibly fortunate to have been a part of a study that worked for me, and I am profoundly thankful that there is the scientific community that continues to work on cures for all illnesses, and cures or opportunities that might not cure the illness but might interrupt the progression of the illness. The scientific community is to be blessed, and I think rewarded, and I think I am an example of a reward for one pharmaceutical company that had a scientist working for them, or scientists that working for them to promote the research. And every day there's an appreciation of not just the day, it's the moments in the day that are very significant to me.